So then after you'd gone through your postulancy and then novitiate, when was it that you began to be assigned to missions?
Well, that's 3 years in novitiate and then 2 years at juniorate. And at that time, in the juniorate year, we were allowed to go into Russia to take classes. Then it was in 1969 that I went on my first mission. I made final vows a year earlier than my class that I was in. I just was moved by the Spirit to go ahead and make final vows instead of waiting so I did it in 8 years instead of 9.
So you had to ask permission for that?
Oh, yes,
yeah.
Definitely. To be able to do it with a class ahead of me.
And then when you were first assigned, where were you sent to?
I went to Precious Blood and taught math from 5th through 8th, and 7th grade was my homeroom. And I really liked it, stayed there until they moved the 7th and 8th grade from that school to St. Stephen's. So then I lost my job. And I talked to Sister Annalita, who was the superior at that time, the Mother Superior. And I said, send me anywhere, but please don't make me principal. She made me principal in Harrodsburg, Kentucky. And I was principal, plus I was a teacher of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and they were all in one room. And the first year I was my own secretary, too. So I stayed there 9 years. And then came back to Owensboro and taught a year at St. Mary Magdalene. And those kids were just really, there's something special about the kids from Sargo. They were really special. And then I interviewed, it was my first interview ever in the convent, but I interviewed for a job at Catholic High, Owensboro Catholic High, and did get that job and taught math. And I was there from 83 to 89. And then I was on spiritual directions, I think, and Sister Mary Matthias asked me to be the next treasurer of the community of the Ursulines, and I remember I turned white as a ghost, and I said, no. And she said, I don't want to hear your answer. You just go and pray for 2 weeks, and then you come back and tell me your answer. So I did a lot of crying and soul searching and praying for the next 2 weeks, and I did come back to her and said, yes, I will do it as long as I don't have to live at the Mount, because I'm a workaholic, and I know if I live there on the grounds next to my office, I will be constantly at the office, and that's not good. So she said, okay. So I was the first treasurer of the community that worked there but didn't live there.
One question, to go back a little bit, sorry, that occurred to me. You know, one of the later questions is about the community's response to Vatican II, but you have a unique situation where you entered at that time. So it's not like you lived for a while and then the change happened, but you were in the middle of that change. Could you talk about what that was like, you know, maybe the atmosphere or how it affected, you know, you as a new vocation or any of that?
Well, I think if I can think back that far as how I may have felt, I was glad to see some changes because the rules when I first came in were so drastic compared to the way I had lived before I came. And so I was glad to see some changes where we were given more freedom, more chance for individual decisions. There was more discussion, you know, began to be. The biggest thing I remember, the struggle during those times was overdress. And we had chapter meetings and meetings over dress, and it was a very difficult situation. But once we got over that hurdle and decided to modernize our dress more according to the times, then we were able to really face and look at the other areas in our religious life that we needed to work on. So the dress was the big thing at that time. But I don't know, you lived with it. The changes were, I guess, gradual. We were doing it, so I don't remember it being as it was this way one day and totally different the next. It was kind of a gradual change. And our director in the novitiate, I think we always thought, Sister Eloise Boone, that she was a woman well ahead of her time, and she would have classes with us on about the different theologians and so on. So I think she prepared us a lot for looking toward the future.